and how is everybody doing? It's been so long since I've last posted. Welcome back to Time Travel Comics. I tell you, I lose track of time, literally. But I'm glad to be back in the present to show you some books from the past about undersea and underwater adventures. It's a theme I've always liked. It's always fascinating to see how some of the artists depict the underwater depth, the sea, the creatures, and of course our heroes battling a villain of sorts, or maybe an android army, underwater. So we're going to look at some books that show this theme, and I think they're truly great. We're going to look at Tower Comics' Undersea Agents. We're also going to explore Wonder Woman and some early Silver Age gems, and also the Atomic Sub and Commander Battle from ACG Comics. So we're in for a treat. We're going to see a world not on land, but below, in the water, and there's a lot of it. Well, I'm going to oil up the time machine here. It's back in action. I had to put some oil in it there. Of course, because the Duncan parking meter was built in the 1960s, I had to use liquid wrench, number one, back in the day. Great bottle, still works at any time, even in the future, even in the past. So we're going to get the time machine rolling, and we're going to see what we got. All right, the time machine is working. We have a great stack of books to go through. The first book will be from Tower Comics, and that's issue number 1 of Undersea Agent. You're right away greeted with a beautiful cover with the greens and the blues and a little bit of softness and obscurity in the back because of the depths of the water. And it's just a wonderful cover. It screams a lot of space themes and underwater. And the Undersea Agents is an acronym for the United Nations of Department of Experiment and Research System established at Atlantis. So each letter of Undersea represents that. So just try to say it quickly as you can. United Nations Department of Experiment and Research System established at Atlantis. So at this time, a lot of great shows were on TV. James Bond, Man from Uncle, and Uncle was also an acronym. So during the mid 60s, that was the theme, and this comes right out of that time. And Tower Comics just brings some greatness into the pages of the book. And also, we have our nemesis here, Dr. Fang, which we'll explore, and the action they're in. But I do want to direct your attention just to the amazing artwork. This is just a lot of depth and shading, and you can just kind of see how it captures that the motions, the bubbles where our hero stops and moves, the bubbles kind of sputter up to the surface, and we really get that feeling. And our characters are introduced in this first issue, and on our left we have Davy Jones, who's a U.S. Navy lieutenant, and he was charged with being a highly skilled agent. He's able to use scuba gear, use different vehicles underwater, and of course outmaneuver and fight the enemy. And his sidekick on the right here is another character. His name is Scooby Doolittle. Maybe he does a little bit, but he does help the lieutenant, Davy Jones, get out of trouble. And you can see the two, one is more masculine and ready to fight. The other one is more whimsical and offers some comedy relief to the viewer. But all this artwork was done by one person in particular, and his name was Ray Bailey. Ray Bailey's worked on Space Cadets and also Steve Canyon of Bell Comics, and he was in a big part of those four color series. So here, Ray Bailey gets to work with Tower Comics in the late 60s and does this great work. And he continues to do a lot of the work for the run as well, for throughout Undersea Agents. Yeah, with Halloween approaching, we have Frankenstein, but just wonderful, wonderful artwork. There's Standing Tall, Davy Jones, and Scooby Doolittle as they receive their mission, Undersea Agent. So there are about 4 stories in this book, and we also have another hero. It could be a nemesis helping out, but just look at the colors. The colors are just great. Vic Gorlick was in charge of putting these wonderful bright colors into play. You can definitely see the swimming movements and just thumping through the pages. Every page is so detailed. Even the enemy layer right here. Oh boy. That's so typical of James Bond when you see that moving Earth and globe and that open layer from the 60s and 70s, and our hero is able to make his way in and get into the fortress and thwart the evil. So just wonderful, great first issue of Undersea Agent #1. The series picked up with another book, a total of 6 books. So we're going to look at the complete cover art of all the books here, and look at the cover there. Very nice cover. So there's a couple artists that worked on these. This one is actually Mike Sikowski. This is a Mike Sikowski cover. Did a lot with some of DC's work, and you can see his artwork here. Again, the interior artwork is also done by Ray Bailey. Ray Bailey, most of his work was done with Dell Comics, of course, but he passed away in 1975, and this was one of his last works because this was around 1966 and 1967. Great artwork in Davy Jones, but I mean, his just the way he was so creative in coming up with the action, the people in the foreground, the explosion in the background, and then the coloring by Vic Gorlick. Just really, it's almost like you're watching a high definition movie right here. And just those colors of green and aqua and turquoise, they really stand out. You can see the dolphins and the sharks, rather, tiger sharks, and then just everything, even coming up above the water and the rocks, you can see the sunlight just beaming onto them as they try to get up onto land. So it's a great issue, Mike Sikowski cover, issue #2. Now on to issue #3, and we're greeted by another beautiful green and turquoise cover. And here we have this big shark cat. This is a shark cat cover, and there we can see our hero that's right here, Davy Jones. Maybe Scooby, probably not, but we'll see. You see the tentacles of the octopus, of course, like A Thousand Leagues Under the Sea. Good homage to Jules Verne right there. Just always a fun theme with tentacles grabbing spaceships and water underneath sub vehicles. And you can even see right here just the waves and the eddies and the current. More greatness from Ray Bailey here. He also worked for Charlton Comics. He did Boris Karloff and Ghostly Haunts as well. And between Dell and Charlton, sometimes Charlton's overlooked, but just a lot of great artists getting their start there. Mastroserio covers. Well, even Steve Ditko worked with Charlton Comics for a while. Trapani, another great artist. So it's just, they kind of ventured in from DC to Marvel to Charlton. And then Tower Comics, it has an interesting history because a lot of it was overseen by Wally Wood. Wally Wood, there's another title that he worked on primarily with Dynamo, and also a series called Nomad, and there's a couple others too, and their main theory of the series, of course, is Thunder Agents. So between Thunder Agents, Undersea Agent, Dynamo, yeah, Wally Wood and a lot of great artists were involved in this company with the logo right there. Great cover, wonderful cover. Moving on, we'll have another great artist that we all know and love, Gil Kane. Gil Kane did this issue, #4, with the dragon-like monster grabbing Lieutenant Jones out of probably underwater because everything's underwater. But again, just great art here. There's Scooby. He's kind of happy something worked there. He's helped out his colleague. Great advertisements. Shout out to Captain Strangeliffe, who loves advertisements and just the history that it brings. Yeah, in fact, it was the captain who says, "Hey, when are you going to post another video?" So I'm glad to do it here and making some time for that. Oh, look at the monster here coming at him. So usually Dr. Fang is the nemesis from China, and that was in the 60s. So they have to thwart the plan of underwater adventures. So that's where it takes place. So you see some of these themes in Asia where there was some political tension at the time and gave young viewers a way to kind of see what's going on or maybe understand what their adult parents were hearing in the news. But it was more fantasy. It was more something to escape. Again, James Bond was around. A Man from Uncle was around. A lot of those spy thrillers, and this does exactly that. So that's issue number 4, Gil Kane cover, nice yellow and green, great contrast, and we'll put that book aside here. So there's not that many in the run. As I mentioned before, it's a short run, Undersea Agents, and this is a number 5 of 6. Another Gil Kane cover, and just look at that mechanical beast underwater, the bubbles coming up from behind. Lieutenant Jones trying to get away from his claw and grip. Yeah, I remember the captain and I were at a convention, and we both picked up around the same time this issue, and we were just marveling about how Gil Kane is such a great artist. Obviously, from doing some books with DC and such, it's just to see that action being put into this book. Yeah, Davey, look out! And kind of a warning there. The detail, the angles, the perspectives are great. And we're still working with Ray Bailey's art. Great perspective. There's the monster there coming at us. Not so much color here, maybe not to detract from the action. The color was really nice and pink and loud, and even those little blue details. So here, just look at that. I just love the effects. Kablam. Yep, there's a submarine. Yeah, this is the vehicle that the undersea agents used to get around. It looked like a flying saucer, but it could be confusing sometimes. However, it's more of a disc vehicle to navigate the water. 19, yeah, this book came out in 1966. I remember picking up my first issue, and it was actually the last issue here, number 4, at an antique store in Chicago. It was a Broadway Antique Mall, and I was just looking around, and they had a small bin of New Yorker magazines, some sports magazines, and this one really popped out. And I said, I've never heard of Tower Comics, and this was a while back, and I'm glad I learned about it, and I picked this book up for $7, this one for $5. And Gil Kane and Gil Kane. You can't beat that. And the final book in the series after that run was this beautiful cover here. This is issue number 6, and this is another Sikowski cover with our Davy Jones kind of gouging the monster there. A couple stories. The other stories had 2 or 3 books or three features. This one had just a couple. Different artists in the interior. Not Ray Bailey. Kind of the end of the series. Some wonder here. More simplistic design, because here you see just more line work and color, which is still great art. But when you go back to Ray Bailey, you could see that depth of everything else going on there too. Just that contour, that contrast, that moving, that eerie look to the water. The newer artwork is more flat in issue number 6, and this was the last run as well. But just wanted to show you again how we have to appreciate Ray Bailey's work. Steve Canyon, he also did. That was a great one. I always like space stories, and he also did the Space Cadets. But here, some fun artwork. It still tells the story, a little more modern edge. Now we get some deep sea action with the shark, of course. Just great. Sharks are a big theme in comic. Yep. Oh, there we go. There is a character from Man from Uncle. Oh yeah. Nice spy versus spy action. All right. So that concludes a 6-issue run of Undersea Agent, or as we would say, United Nations Department of Experiment and Research System, established of the Atlantis. 25 cents of goodness, a lot of pages here. This is actually not a square bound, so this is the first non-square bound Undersea book as well. Honorable mention, Undersea was resurrected kind of to some degree in Thunder Agents issue number 13. So there's a little cameo appearance, and it turns out that Lieutenant Davy Jones and the characters were actually android. They were created by the Nemesis. So it's just one side story out of the few that are in here where Dynamo and the other agents of Thunder had to meet again with Davy Jones, and it's right over here, the second Atlantis. That looks like Rick. It looks like Ray Bailey's artwork, actually. So we have to thank Lieutenant Jones and Scooby Doolittle, because he did a lot to save him in the comic book. Okay, everyone, now we're transitioning from Undersea Agents and Power Comics. We saw some great artwork, and it continues with Wonder Woman. I'm going to put a couple books side by side, some early Wonder Woman greatness here. Issues number 83 and issue 101. So the one on the left was created back in 1953. It's a Frank Giacola cover. And then the one on the right is a little bit more recent, and you can flip through just to double check, and it's from 1958. So from July 53 to October 1958, we're definitely going back in time. And just look at the great colors and artwork. Very poster quality artwork right there. You see the shark and Steve trapped underwater as Wonder Woman wrestles with the shark with a grip on him to move him away. So just wanted to show you these great issues. I earmarked a little bit of the issue number 83 here, the interior, and you could see that underwater looks more golden age, more the original line drawing, and just great. Sharks here, sharks over there, and sharks over here. Definitely need more sharks. Just gently moving these away is another book, underwater, but more with a submarine. As you can see, a deadly missile being launched away, and she exclaims, "Hera, help me stop this underwater atomic invasion." This is a little bit later. This is 139, and that's also from 1963. So it still predates the Undersea Agents. And there you see her pushing down on the missile to prevent it from destruction of the world. So great artwork. Just wanted to show you a few of those covers and see, oh, great, an ad for Batman. The annuals are great. So just some nice covers right there, some side-by-side underwater. As we collect those and move them out of the way, we have another Wonder Woman book with some water. Octopus being captured. Is that by her lasso? It is. Oh boy. You have that theme there. It's always great. Octopus, sharks, underwater, great. Just great. She's captured underwater. So there's a few different scenes that this comic shows, and this is issue number 141. Last but not least, we'll end on another goodie, and that's Commander Battle, rather, in the Atomic Sub, a 10 center ACG Comics. And again, this is more like a piranha fish. And they're the bubbles and the divers, kind of reminiscent of Davy Jones and Scooby, an underwater sub. So this was during the Cold War. And around that time, the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is post-World War II, where it was kind of a theme that was happening in the news. There was a threat of atomic invasion, and comic books just jumped right in and portrayed that. That's ferocious. Deep Water Devil. And this is right over here, 1955. Pretty low-grade book right here, as you can see by the rust stains from the staple. Some pulled staples, but nonetheless, it does have the artwork. Is that Dr. Fang? Nope, that's a different book, different story, but it kind of looks like it. And that's ACG. This is March, April 1955, issue number 5. Thank you for sticking around with me to explore the undersea theme here with Wonder Woman and Undersea Agents. You saw a lot of sharks and submarines, and it's just truly great work. The bogginess of the water, the depths of the undercurrents, and just the action and the bubbles really made for some great finds. Thank you again for watching. If you have a book that you like that's underwater, please let me know in the comment section below. Love to check it out on my own and let everybody else know too. Good to be back, and be well. Thank you.